right.
All right, dude. And there's my shot. I like it. So we've got that figured out at least. Hey, this is DJ Kelly Reverb. You are tuned in to This Pink Cloud Season 3, Episode 3. Lots of threes going on here. Hey, by the way, if you're on YouTube and you're watching this, hit that subscribe button, which is down there. Hopefully I pointed to the correct side. I think so. Regardless, yeah. Fun stuff. We're at the new studio, Hello Studios in downtown Dallas, dude. We've moved up from Frisco from the burbs. Real quick, I don't even know if we added this, but oh yeah, we did. There we go. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, which is summersky.us. That's www.summersky.us. And that is 888-857-8857. Once again, that is summersky.us and 888-857-8857. It is a place where I went to rehab personally, and if it can work for me, it can work for you, for sure, because I didn't think it was going to work, and now we've got that done, so we can take that off, and then I can look at that, dude, running the show and doing all kinds of fun stuff here. But sitting in with me today is, dude, boom. Your shot, dude. Look at that guy. Look at that handsome fella. Look at, and we have his title here, right? There we go, dude. One of these days, I'm going to just have it all down and you won't even.
Looks good.
I'm like the Wizard of Oz over here, dude. I swear, man. But sitting in with me today, obviously we usually have Dylan in here. Dylan's going through some personal stuff, which I'm sure we'll have an entire episode on to recap on him. But he's doing good. So, and he's in the right place where he needs to be getting help. If I didn't give too much away, everybody else has that knowing nod. Yeah, the
old right place.
Yeah, right, the old right place. But sitting in for me today and actually next week, dude. It's so nice of you to do 2 in a row for me. But this is the, I guess the girls want to be with him. The guys want to be with. The guys want to be him. That's it, right? but from Brazos Recovery, I always like to refer to him as the people's champ.
Oh, I love that.
Josh
Yeah.
W. Jordan. And I always throw in the W. I don't even know what the W means.
Wyatt, yeah.
Wyatt, okay.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, but just be sure and talk right into that mic and make sure your level's good.
Cool.
Yeah,
How about now? That's good.
Perfect.
That's
Yeah,
good.
dude. Now you sound like
Cool.
magical, and we're working all these angles over here. But okay, so now that we got all that out of the way, these poor guys are our maiden voyage on using Switcher, the in-house like Zoom for Switcher, the Switcher app. But I am super excited to have these guys on from the Crystal City documentary. And correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, guys. I have the director, Terrance Crawford. I have Dr. David Fawcett, and Dr. David Fawcett has a litany of letters behind his name, like as far as his qualifications, and I know he's a CSAT and all that good stuff. But he's also in the film, and then we also have Jimmie Stallings. So I know there's going to be kind of a latency, but I want to thank you guys for coming out, man, and dealing with our first painful maiden voyage with Switcher Audio here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So before we get into the Q&A portion, I want to go ahead and play the trailer of for the actual movie, so people actually get basically an idea of what the hell we're talking about. So let's go ahead and play that trailer.
Should we try the whole thing? Okay. Navigating New York City as a young person who doesn't have people here is hard. Hands on chest, like we're laid to rest. When I was on my own, it was impossible. Yeah, I smoked meth. Like, I don't know why I keep going back and doing it. I just got to like completely turn off the world.
And every once in a while, you get that response, oh, you don't look like a crystal meth addict. Now people are really starting to see how it's used in metropolitan areas, and specifically among gay men.
We're seeing meth use among gay men in New York City rise 300% and 400%.
It was not until I admitted I was an addict that I really understood addiction. What was your primary drug of choice?
Meth, crystal meth.
I'm gonna throw out a couple of old syringes that I probably used on my last relapse, just because they shouldn't be in my bag.
When the DEA came to the door, they started trying to knock it down.
So they bust in, 10 guys, full SWAT gear, guns in my head, they cuff everybody.
It's just such a huge piece of who I am and what's built me and made me and challenged me and hurt me.
There are addicts everywhere. There are addicts from every walk of life, from the gutter to the penthouse.
All right. Well, that makes me want to watch it again. I mean, this is my initial quote. I found it compelling, insightful, and somewhat alarming as to what an epidemic and could be pandemic, chemsex was. I didn't realize that it was so rampant, and it was definitely like being a fly on the wall in something that I personally haven't experienced, but it gave me a greater understanding. So I applaud you for that. And Terrance, I guess I want to throw up some softball questions to you here. As far as what made you want to make a documentary on this subject?
Well, thanks for having us on. And I think the first thing I want to say is, while the trailer includes some of the more salacious elements of the film, it really is a project about recovery. And as a person in recovery, I wanted to, that latency. I wanted to highlight stories of people that overcame their using. And there's a lot of stigma and shame and fear associated with crystal meth use, especially in the LGBTQ community, which is like already stigmatized for other reasons of minority stress. And so I felt that there should be a project that highlights the success of people that are able to overcome their addiction. And there wasn't that in the marketplace at the time. So I just gathered some of my friends that I had met in early recovery in 2015. And, I asked them like, hey, do you want to participate in this project? Share your stories. And I think a lot of them didn't realize how large of a project it would become because, now thousands of people have seen it. It's been at festivals all over the world, and we're really shedding a light on this topic.
Yeah, and I think you did. I think you did the story justice. One question I did have: was there anything that surprised you during the making of the documentary? Like, just anything that stands out that you were even you, being in recovery personally. Was there something that you were just like, whoa, dude?
Actually, it was the hesitancy of people in the program to appear on camera. I guess because I had been in recovery for a while at that point, and I had been, good friends with a lot of these people. There were moments in the film that were very difficult to capture, especially at the watch at the end, Jimmie and Andrew's one-year watch, because there is so much like shame and stigma, and there's that tradition of anonymity in 12-step programs. It was really a struggle to get people to participate, and so that's kind of what I'm hoping this film makes it easier to do moving forward, is to share openly about your people's experience in recovery.
Right. Well, I you know, kind of echo your sentiment as far as recovery, because there are people that are, you know, want to keep it private, and I get that. But I mean, I'm like, I recover loud, you know, and I'm loud and proud. And hey, man, you know, if I can recover loudly, so they don't have to suffer silently. You know, that's my whole. That I mean, hell, I did it. I was like, oh, I should do a show about my alcoholism. So, you know, I applaud. You know, you doing that. Josh, I didn't know if you had any questions for Terrance or.
Well, I just wanted to speak to the anonymity. Like, what I find personally is, you know, we're asked to be anonymous because none of us are elected lobbyists for these specific fellowships. But what I think we fail to realize is, some of your intention behind this is like, hey, the louder we can be about recovery from addiction, right? We can still protect these fellowships that helped us restore our lives or build new ones, and not like, you know, wear the name of that entire fellowship, but we can say like, hey, I'm in recovery from an addiction.
Right.
And you can also be in recovery, and the more we can talk about it, the better.
Yeah.
But other than that, I was trying to think on the way here about what I didn't realize is how intersecting like the sex side of this was with the youth.
Oh yeah.
And Kelly and I talked about that briefly and bringing that up, right? Like, I'm the least marginalized of all the groups of people in recovery, right?
Right.
And I get to come in contact with and serve a lot of gay men who are crystal meth addicts, and for them, like, it's synonymous, use and sex. And
oh yeah.
I have this own identity crisis.
Well, the funny thing you mentioned that is because my next question is for the Dr. David Fawcett, and I'm glad you led into that. I was going to say, David Fawcett, thank you for joining us, and it is Doctor. Okay, give me a little bit of that alphabet soup that you have after your name. I know you're a CSAT. What else?
Means I've lived a long time. Yeah, I'm a CSAT, which is a certified sex addiction therapist.
Okay.
Which is the most recent. But before that, I'm a clinical social worker, and my PhD is in clinical sexology, which is basically a sex therapist.
Well, there we go. So you're kind of qualified to talk about this.
Yeah, and also I should mention, since we're being open about this, I'm in recovery myself.
I love it.
For many years now.
I love it. So
this is personal as well.
Yeah, no, I love it. So I was going to ask you your thoughts on this. Why is chemical? Why is crystal meth and chemsex so prevalent in the gay community? Because I'm a heterosexual male, and but I don't necessarily see it. I'm sure it exists out there, but I've always kind of heard about that in the gay community. And why do you think it's so, prevalent?
I think it had historical roots, going back to the mid-'90s when protease inhibitors kind of changed the survival rates of men living with HIV, and people were already on disability and were bored, and along came meth, and kind of perversely came Viagra.
Right. Yeah,
and
true.
There was circuit parties, and people started to celebrate, and it became, I think, associated with that. And then it grew because it started being taken over by the cartels, and it got purer and more refined. And then apps like Scruff came out, which made it easier to get, and it's just snowballed ever since.
Right. And then this is kind of a question for whoever wants to address it, but I always see, because I'm actually in recovery, like I work in the recovery field, but why is, like, it seems to be a higher rate of recidivism with crystal meth use and or heroin. And I mean, I guess there's probably a chemistry behind that. But what would you say would be the reason why there's such a rate for, recidivism?
Yeah, I'd love to speak to that. Meth is really unique in the damage that it does to certain parts of the brain, the dopamine pathways. And dopamine pathways are affected for all addictions and all drugs and behaviors. But meth is particularly destructive because it depletes the brain of dopamine, which is the chemical that keeps us balanced and make us feeling good. But it also destroys, literally is neurotoxic to the dopamine receptors. And so if you're a chronic meth user, you're destroying the brain's ability to self-regulate and feel good. And that leads to high impulsivity and relapse. And the good news is that those neural pathways that are damaged get restored. But the bad news, it can take up to 2 years. And so there's actually physically a different recovery from meth than other drugs. Heroin does similar damage, but to different pathways. So it's a similar process of the brain being unable to stabilize itself.
Right. Yeah. No, it's funny because Josh is an opioid / heroin addict in recovery. So he's over there nodding his head, very like, yes, interesting. Hey, and then I also noticed, don't you have a book out as well?
I do. Yeah, based on about 25 years of working with gay men, there was no literature out there at all. So I wrote a book. It's about 5 years old now. It's called Lust, Men, and Meth, A Gay Men's Guide to Sex and Recovery.
Okay.
And it's available on Amazon and audio and all kinds of things.
There we go. We'll see. Oh, is it an audiobook?
Thanks for mentioning it.
Yeah, no problem. Is it an
It's also an
audiobook?
audiobook.
Well, then I'm in. If it's an audiobook, I'm in. If I actually have to read it, then likelihood 0.
A lot of people I've discovered.
Yeah. Well, but what I was going to say is I want to have you back on the show, Jay, just you solo and talk about your book. But I don't want to leave this other guy out. I know he's been patiently sitting there, and I appreciate that. That would be Mr. Jimmie Stallings, and we're changing your title right there. We just put Jimmie Crystal City Cast. So how are you today, Jimmie?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Good. Are you still keeping the streets in New York clean with the Guardian Angels?
Oh, I don't think I've done that since that year it's been filmed. Just I stopped because there was a lot going on in my life. Like I was taking on too many tasks.
Right.
So I had to.
You had to back off.
Oh wow.
Well, no, and that's funny that you say that, because a lot of people, what they do in early recovery is they just think, oh, hey, man, if I work and just keep myself busy, I'm going to be fine, you know? So I get that whole part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helped keep me from being idle, but also there's that. Yeah, like you were just saying, there's kind of like that impulse to, you figured out a thing that's working out for you and you want to do more and more and more and more and more of it, like as an addict. And so there's always the possibility that it can end up breaking you in the end. And because I've gotten myself in trouble that way.
Sure. Well, do you want to share what anything? I mean, I don't want you to get too deep, and it's always share what you want to share, but I mean.
No, it's no problem.
Okay.
So, like I always end up talking about my job, and I really throw myself into work. So there's that. There's just making other commitments with people. There's making commitments with friends, family, and not really making time for yourself. Well, I'll just keep it on myself. And yeah, I mean, if you're not tending to yourself at some point, you get resentments and you get, old bugaboos start coming back.
Resentments?
So
Resentments? What's that? Oh my God, dude! Resentments?
I feel like I've said too much.
No. It's all good. Yeah. Hey, and then I always like to throw a little 101 out there. For somebody that, is relatively newer to recovery. But I always like to ask, what advice would you offer someone looking to get clean, and what have you found maybe in your toolbox that has helped you be successful?
For me, I think it really just requires having an open mind. And it doesn't necessarily have to be 12-step. That's one pathway. There's a bunch of different pathways. People do harm reduction. People do smart recovery. Some people just abstain completely. And, God bless them. I don't have that willpower.
Right.
But yeah, having an open mind and really just ultimately just wanting to be clean helps.
Right.
So just having...
that's what I always say. It's funny that you say that, Jimmie. It's funny that you say that because I always say that, hey, man, I cannot make you want it, you know? I mean, that's the main thing. You have to want it for yourself. So you said it great there. That actually makes me want to ask the doc a question, which I will pull him up and then change his title to not Jimmie, but Dr. Fawcett. Hey, Dr. Fawcett. So he was mentioning. He was. Yeah, I'm trying, man. But he was mentioning about Matt. And I always like to ask, when I have a doctor on about Matt. I mean, I know with heroin there's Suboxone and methadone, but as far as with crystal meth, is there a Matt for that?
No, there is not, and that's been a huge problem for people. It's changed and saved many lives in the opioid world, but there's been no equivalent for amphetamines. What we are finding, though, excitedly, there's been any kind of search for a drug to look for something that would reduce cravings, and just in the Journal of New England Medicine, just a year ago, they published an article saying there had been moderate to successful findings for the combination of our old friend naltrexone and Wellbutrin for the reduction of methamphetamine cravings. So I think we're onto something now, but that's the closest we've come to anything like MAT.
Right. Yeah. I was gonna say MAT for crystal meth is called Adderall.
It's just a step down, but not for everybody.
Everybody in the room lights up when I say that. Oh yeah. But okay, so let's get Terrance on here. Let me pop you up, and then okay. So I know you're in a hurry.
Like to
so
address that last topic.
Yeah, go ahead. Please jump in.
Yeah, just my 2 cents real quick. I know for me personally, one of the primary reasons that I use drugs is because I crave intensity. I crave novel experiences. If life gets too reliable and, for a lack of a better word, boring, I'll probably just go used to make something excited happen that kind of allows me to feel alive. So one of the things that I've done in recovery is try to replicate those intense experiences in healthy ways. So like I went skydiving last summer during COVID. What else? I went to the nude beach for the first time, even though I'm like a shy person.
I like it. Yeah, right.
It's just these things, just trying to find these like fresh ways without using to kind of feel alive and grounded.
Okay. So yeah. I mean, I get that. So just kind of actually go on a natural high, if you will. Basically.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess his video's frozen, but oh, it's the connection. Okay.
If I could just add to that.
Yeah, sure, of
brain,
course.
That neural pathway I was mentioning earlier does take a while to restore, and it is helpful because people in amphetamine recovery, their brain was used to that high volume, and then it stops. And so until the brain readjusts over a period of months, it is useful to have other kinds of different stimulation in healthy ways, of course, but it does help, including human connection.
Right.
I think most guys coming into recovery like that are incredibly lonely.
Right. And I love that you said that because I found early in recovery, community is a huge aspect of my recovery. And if it wasn't for having a community, then, you're really, people can do it and it does happen, but I think you're more likely to succeed if you have a network.
Right. We know that there's research to bear this out now, the power of connection.
Oh, yeah.
And that was true for me too. I came kind of this place of total isolation into a a room full of people that accepted me no matter what.
Right.
And that connection saved my life. I know it.
Right. Now, are you actually out of California or are you in New York?
Well, I'm actually in Fort Lauderdale is my home base.
Okay.
Or
Fort Lauderdale.
residential treatment program out here.
Right.
Called
Okay.
Seeking Integrity in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And we treat sex addiction, porn addiction, and chem sex addiction.
Okay. And then, so how did you and Terrance meet to work on this project? How did y'all? I guess I can here. I'm going to switch to the screen where everyone's on. There we go. Now we have all three of you up there, and we can see all.
Am I still frozen, by the way?
You are, but you're kind of, yeah, you're moving though. I mean, we can see your face. You're just your. It's okay though. Don't worry.
Terry, do you want to tell that, or should I?
We can. You can tell it since I'm. There's some technical difficulties.
Well, no. We can hear you. We can hear you just fine,
me.
Terrance. So.
Okay, really quick. It was at a sober retreat in 2017 in Connecticut that Crystal Meth Anonymous in New York City puts on every year. And I actually won David's book in a raffle by chance and approached him after the event to have him sign it. So that's when we got to talking, totally by chance.
Yeah, that's and you're just like, did you?
And
go ahead. Yeah.
And if I could just add, and so Terry came up, I think he said he was just finished or just was finishing NYU film school and wanted to make this documentary. And I said, sure, kid, I'll never see this again.
Yeah,
and
right.
Then a couple years later,
I've heard that
he
before.
secured funding and a crew, and he had already started filming it. And it's this amazing piece of work. And I feel just what a great gift for me to connect with these young guys and tell this important story.
For sure. And then, okay, so Terrance, that leads me to the next question. What is there going to be a follow-up? I mean, is there going to be a follow-up, maybe like a part 2 to follow up to see how the guys are, doing in their recovery? Or do you have another subject that maybe is a passion, outside of recovery even? I mean, just what's next for Terrance?
Well, I do work in reality television, and there is a project in development that I've been editing for the last couple of months that I'm not allowed to talk about. But as far as this topic is concerned, I would love to. It's my dream to create a wiki of all of the information about chemsex that's ever been published, and then on this website, we could post video testimonials, as well as like recovery resources. Just more information and data about this epidemic that doesn't really exist in one URL.
Right. No. I love that, and I think that's a great idea, especially since like there really is not that much, as far as publications and content on this. Did your phone time out there, Joshy?
No,
hey.
Yeah. There seems to be a lack of. David, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, no, that was my frustration when I brought my first book out, Lust, Men, and Meth, and it continues to be the case. Now there's more research articles, but nothing too popular. I've just finished the manuscript of a new book, kind of a Lust, Men, and Meth rewrite for everybody. It's men, women, gay, straight, amphetamines, opioids. Just look at the combination between drugs and sex. And I think it's weirdly to me, nobody's really talking about that, and I think a lot of people get into drug recovery and slip because they switch it right over to porn and sex addiction.
Right.
So I think we need to talk about the combination.
Right. Porn, I don't know what you're talking about. Nobody watches that.
So I've got a question.
Here, let me get
porn
you
what?
on, Josh.
Yeah,
exactly. Porn what?
Do you guys have data? Do you have evidence? Do you believe that, Terrance, that the goal of this documentary was achieved or is being achieved as people continue to watch it? And what I mean is, in the format that we saw it, it was presented as a CEU, right? So like half of this theater was full of people that hold clinical licensing, and in order to maintain their license, they have to go and get CEU credits, right? Which is like, I'm continuing to learn about the field in which I work. And through that, right, you've got all of these treatment industry professionals who now have this population that they may work with, including myself. I'm not a clinician, but when confronted with this problem, and I'm sitting there talking to somebody about what I understand to be addiction, and they're talking about sex while we're having that conversation, I'm like, no, I'm not talking about your sex addiction. That's something separate. And for these individuals, it seems to not be the case. And so the more that you guys get in to the treatment field and exposure to this information, has that happened so far? Like, have you been able to equip people with a better means to communicate and build rapport?
Yeah, I'd say it's been largely successful. We've had screenings with the medical community, like at the Yale School of Medicine, for instance, although I will say it was not intended as a clinical piece. I'd say it's largely been successful in raising awareness and reducing stigma in general.
Yeah, I was gonna say if it was a clinical piece, I would have been, I would have fallen asleep. I'd be like, oh yeah, one of those.
Well, it was hugely
yeah,
informational.
no, and I actually it kept my attention the entire time, which is a tough thing to do. But yeah, so yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to also, obviously, the whole thing is really about the documentary. So where can people get the documentary? Where is it available?
It's available on Amazon Prime Video, which I believe is now streaming it for free.
Ooh. Oh, really?
Have IMDb TV. It's also it's available on Roku and Google Play, iTunes.
And then y'all also have a Facebook page where you can comment on the movie, right? And
right, at Crystal City Movie.
Okay.
We're not hip, so we don't have an Instagram or a
I know, because trust me, I know, because I was trying to tag y'all, like, and I was like, oh man, I don't see anything on Instagram. I'm gonna have to just leave it as Crystal City Documentary, and no one will have a tag to go to. But regardless, okay, and then there's also a website that I went to, which is crystalcitymovie.com, which is actually where we grabbed the trailer from.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, and then they can just stream it off of there, right?
You can't stream the film from the website.
Okay.
Amazon Prime Video is the best place to go.
Okay, I got it. And then in Amazon Prime, it's free right now, so it's you can't beat that price, right?
Nope.
Yeah, but so I mean, I'm out of questions here, guys. But and I know, aren't you flying today, Terrance?
That trip has been rescheduled, but I have a full slate at work.
I gotcha. Well, yeah. So I mean, I can't. Do you have any other questions that you wanted to ask, Fitz? Did you have any questions that you wanted to ask? And besides, his mic's not on, anyways. But yeah, I really think it's super important that that people actually see this movie and get a better perspective, if just not for that fact alone. So maybe you have a loved one who is in this, and I think it's a great resource to watch and to get it just in general. Let me see. I do have one more softball question that I always like to ask all of the guests, and I'll just go down the line, and we'll start with Jimmie first. Let's see. What were some of the biggest hurdles / stumbling blocks you have found in getting sober or working on your recovery?
I guess just falling into bad habits. For me, it would be like sexual compulsion. I was always on apps. I was always like, even before I started doing drugs, like I had that about me. So, and as it's been said before, like, and even during the podcast, sex and drugs and meth, they're all connected. And this crazy way. So it can easily lead you back if you end up, especially if you end up, going to some person's house and voila, you see all this, you see all of this stuff, all of this paraphernalia there, and if you're in the wrong mindset, you can hop back into that.
Oh yeah. You just see somebody having a little. Oh, I see you have a party kit with you. So, yeah, I could. It's definitely.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that with me with alcohol. I feel the same way. I mean, I'm okay with being around it, but it's when the people start offering and start, oh hey, oh no, come on, just a shot, dude, you're fine, man, you're fine. That's when it gets a little irritable for me. But I could just go, I could definitely see that, if you see a little meth pipe there, you're just like, oh my god, yeah, I could.
Yeah. And also wanted to just add really quickly, I would say not reaching out to people, like getting a certain amount of time and then you just rest on your laurels. It's not it. That's not going to work for very long. And I've learned that many times.
Right.
I have to connect to people.
But it works if you work it, kind of thing. the adage that we've heard over so many times. Yeah, I mean the thing is like there are people that can hop out there and they can get sober, which is kind of impressive to me. But I definitely think any kind of recovery community usually is a good thing. I mean, there are ones that are toxic out there and cliquey and all that kind of stuff. But anything that you can do to keep yourself involved in your community, I think, is paramount in that. And now I want to go ahead and switch to Terrance and get your opinion on that question. And if you need me to repeat it, I can.
No, it's okay. For me personally, COVID lockdowns in 2020 had a pretty detrimental impact on my recovery. And I did relapse after having long-term sobriety. And it was because of a lack of connection. There was eventually Zoom meetings popped up online everywhere around the world, and that's been fantastic. But there was a period where it was just me in my apartment with my laptop because I started working from home, and I lost touch with my support system, and that had a really detrimental impact. So thankfully, I've been able to reconnect and reinforce those relationships.
Yeah. I like I said, man, that support system is paramount. So, and to the good doctor, what would your thoughts on that be?
I echo what has been said so far. And I would just add to kind of put a fine point on what Jimmie had said earlier, just life balance. I tend to get overcommitted and overworked and then get resentful and, have a little hissy fit and then again, find my balance again. So I'd like to have the balance all the way through. It's hard to get.
Right. Yeah. And we just had a young man on talking about meditation. So that's another tool we can add in the toolbox as far as
for sure
as far as grounding and being and just mindfulness in general. When one question. So since I've got the doctor on, do you think that guys are just bigger pervs than women, just in general? as the entire room's laughing.
Point of view, yes, probably.
Yeah.
But interestingly, I think there's been Pornhub has all these amazing statistics, and women's viewing of pornography is doubling every year.
Oh wow!
So I think it's just more circumstance and opportunity, and I'd like to see where it goes in 10 years. It's going to be much more an equal playing field, I think.
Start checking the wife's browser history.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny, man.
I love that we were on this, what was a struggle in your recovery and what did you learn the hard way, into Well,
Right,
you
that
know,
one.
are women watching porn nowadays?
Well, no,
what's
I
really
can't.
going on?
I can't wait. I can't wait to
Kinda
go
went
look
off
at.
the rails big
I know.
time.
I can't wait to go watch. Look at Pornhub analytics.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, dude. I mean, and we're gonna see some weird stuff. I want to see. Yeah, like it would be really interesting to see like what certain things are trending. You know.
Where are we going?
Yeah.
now?
Sorry. Hey, I have stopped. I have stopped right there. But hey, Josh, you got anything to add? Any questions for the guys? Any comments?
I mean, where are we at on time?
We are at 40 minutes and 18, 19,
Yeah,
20.
so I've got a recent experience that really like stood out to me, and like I was saying earlier, like what I do within the treatment field, right, the professional side of the treatment industry, puts me in a position to end up working with a lot of gay men, most of which are struggling with crystal meth addiction. And the community that they have here specifically, without, you know, throwing any fellowships under the bus, but they're all part of this very well vibrant, tight-knit community that's doing conferences and retreats, and like they're doing all these things. And multiple times over the last year, I've had, you know, the similar experience to Terrance, right? And even within other communities of people, there was such a dependence on the fellowships that a lot of us, and I had my struggles within that too, a lot of us found out the hard way, like an over-dependence on this fellowship and less on the transformational process that maintains the connections within the fellowship. And so I've had these guys come in and talk to me about, you know, I've been in recovery for years, and then I'm just now learning about these tools like, you know, the 10th step and what 12-step recovery actually refers to as meditation, and like all these like actual practical tools that I get to use while I'm home alone, not hanging out with people, not going out to eat, not connected. And I'm just wondering, like, is that something that you guys have incorporated into your own recovery, and is that something that you're able to take to the community that you're a part of and say, hey, like there's work that there's tools that we can use when we don't have each other, and in the tough times when we even are using the tools, we can still have one another?
I can speak to that really quick. I know in my fellowship, there's a lack of reliance on higher power, or there's not as much of an emphasis as, like, let's say in Alcoholics Anonymous. And a lot of that is because gay men have had a specific trauma associated with Christianity in their early life. And recently, I've been converted by my boyfriend's grandma to born-again Christianity, or born-again Christianity light. So I still read like a daily devotional.
Light,
like
I like
give
that.
Give up and let go and let God is the term. So that's been really helpful to me personally, just reinforcing that spiritual connection.
How is that higher power acceptance?
Sorry?
It said, how is that higher power acceptance into Christianity? Is the jury still out?
Specifically, I kind of believe no, the jury is still out. I do believe that no matter what happens in my life, whether it's to my liking or not, you know, it is God's will, or it's the will of my higher power that things are going to work out.
Sure.
And, you know, everything happens in God's time, right?
Yeah, I like it. Well, yeah, I mean, I can't say anything but watch this movie, and especially now that it's free. Hopefully I was gonna make you at least, you know, a few bucks today, but you know, for your time. But I love it that it's free on Amazon Prime. I love that, and you know, if you ever have you know, another something that you're putting out, I would love to have you back on, and we can talk about that as long as it's recovery based. I mean, if it's the RuPaul drag show, then maybe not, but but that might be interesting too.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
that might be good. But yeah, man, I can't think.
Knock it till you try it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Hey, something I gotta say, and I was just thinking this. I love the fact that the gay community they can fucking organize, dude. I love that y'all have an organization, and y'all fucking make it look fun too, dude. Because I'm like, man, these guys are having fun, dude. I gotta be honest, man.
Seriously.
Yeah. So props to the gay community.
Hell yeah.
But other than that, guys, yeah, I mean, I know you have busy days, and yeah, and any shout outs you want to go down the list? Jimmie, you got any shout outs you want to any people in your network you want to shout out to?
Oh God, I feel like I should have one. I don't know. Shout out to my cat. He's alive and accountable at my house.
What's your cat's name?
Shout out to Max.
Max. Okay. Shout out Max.
What up, Max?
Max is his name. And shout out to my family.
Okay.
Also, people that I have been very I've been very lackadaisical with connecting with them over the past years, but they have kept me afloat, and yeah, couldn't really live without them.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that, because it really, through addiction, you really truly do find who your real friends are. I have a feeling, you know, I have that personal experience for sure. So, and then Terrance, did you have anybody you want to shout out?
Yes, actually. Shout out to Breathe Life Healing Centers in West Hollywood, California. That's the treatment facility that I went to during COVID, early 2021, and it really made a huge difference in my life.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. And then obviously go to watch the movie. Duh. If we haven't hammered that one home, I don't know. But yeah, and then The Good Doctor. And then go ahead and obviously give your book a plug again.
Yeah, of course. Well, my book is Lust, Men, and Meth, The Gay Man's Guide to Sex and Recovery. So Lust, Men, and Meth, you can find that on Amazon. And I'll just give a shout out. Breathe is wonderful. They're friends of mine. I just named mine in LA. So it's Seeking Integrity. It's the program that I designed.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I want to thank you guys for coming out, man. And, hit up that Amazon Prime, watch it, get the Good Doctor's book, and definitely, Doc, we want to have you back on the show and talk about your book. But I want to thank you guys for coming on, man, and being our guinea pigs on this fun thing. Terrance, I know you know the how fun it can be in the production side of things. So you know. Always a party on production. It's always a cable or a dongle or something, you know. But thanks for coming out.
No worries.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. And hey, thanks for sitting in, Josh. I can't wait to have you back for next week. We've got Henry Boyce on. Oh yeah, don't forget about our lovely sponsor here, which is not that one. There we go. Which is summersky.us. www.summersky.us. That's 888-857-8857. Once again, 888-857-8857. Lovely place out in Stephenville, Texas, where I got clean and sober. And like I said, man, if I can do it, you can do it. And if you can't, and then I love this, if you can't, dude, it's a really expensive trip to Stephenville, Texas. Oh but no, I love them, and it's family out there for sure. So, but thanks again, guys. Love what you're doing. Keep it up, and go watch their movie, man. It was great. It was really entertaining, and appreciate you guys and your time. And Terrance, I'll give you a call after the show, and we will wrap. But remember, guys, there is no magic pill for sobriety.
All right.
Because if there was, we would all take too many.